welcome back. And today I'm going to discuss about Transfer of Property Act. And this video focuses mainly subject matter of Transfer of Property Act. And in the subsequent videos, we will be discussing every aspect of Transfer of Property Act in detail. Okay, so when I started reading Transfer of Property Act 1882, the few questions which is this act same as Sale of Goods Act? We know, right? Already a Sale of Goods Act exists for any kind of sales related to a goods. Okay, so then what is the difference that Transfer of Property Act deals with? Like, what is the difference? Okay, someone told me that Sale of Goods Act deals with only a movable goods, and then Transfer of Property Act deals with immovable goods. What is movable goods and what is immovable goods, that we will talk. I hope you guys are already aware of this. Okay, immovable properties which are basically at a high level, like a building, land and other thing which cannot be moved. Movable properties like a vehicle and other things which can be moved from one place to other at a high level. So Sale of Goods Act deals with movable, and then Transfer of Property Act deals with immovable goods. Is this right? Is this right? Okay, we will see that. We will come back to this question. And the second question which came in my mind is, if this is okay, it deals with only immovable property, then why the title of the act says only Transfer of Property Act, not immovable property? Like, they could have added this, right? If it is dealing with only immovable property, then they could have added Transfer of Immovable Property Act 1882. But why it is not done? Right? So we will see that. Then the third question, when for a sale of goods they have mentioned that it is a Sale of Goods Act, then why here Transfer of Property? Here also they could have added Sale of Property. Correct? What is this? So these are the few basic fundamental questions when I started arised in my mind when I started studying Transfer of Property Act 1882. Let's see the overall scope of the Transfer of Property Act, and then we come back and see the answers for these questions. Here is the Transfer of Property Act, this overall subject matter or the scope of this particular act. It is at very high level, and few sections which are not relevant from our discussion per se, I have removed those. And I made 4 blocks here. One is a basic concepts, the second one is a doctrine, third one is a mortgages, and then fourth one is a immovable property. Okay, so I made these 4 blocks. There is no hard and fast rule that we have to follow these 4 blocks. Based for the for the purpose of convenience and easy to understand, I made these 4 blocks. And in most of the university syllabus also, the unit 1 deals with basic concept, the unit 2 deals with the doctrines, unit 3 deals with the mortgages, and unit 4 deals with immovable property related transactions. Right? Okay. With these 4 blocks, let's look into in each of the block what we are going to discuss. In basic concepts, we will be covering, or the act covers general principles, meaning of immovable property, who are the persons who are competent for this particular transactions, operation of transfer, how to do the transfer, what happens of the transfer, after the transfer, and can we put some rules and conditions against the transfer, and then vested and contingent interest. Key sections with respect to a basic concepts are properties which cannot be transferred in section 6, competent parties section 7, effect of transfer section 8, Section 9 deals with the manner of transfer. Section 10 deals with restraint against transfer. This is a condition, right? Can we put this condition? Whenever we do a sale, can we put this condition? The person will not be able to transfer this property to other person. Can we put this condition? That is dealt in section 10. The same way, restraint against enjoyment. Can we put some condition that this property should not be used to celebrate any functions, etc.? Can we put this kind of enjoyment conditions? Termination of contract in case of an insolvency is dealt in section 12. Transfer to unborn, a unborn child, can we transfer it? They are dealt in section 13. Rule against perpetuity, section 14. Failure of interest, dealt in section 16. Vested interest and contingent interest, section 19 and section 21 respectively, and section 25 and 26 deals with conditional transfer. These are the key sections which we have to remember to cover our basic concepts unit. Okay, we will discuss all these things in detail in subsequent videos. And next comes the question of doctrines. There are 6 doctrines under Transfer of Property Act which we need to study carefully. First one is doctrine of election, which is dealt in section 35. Ostensible or a holding out, section 41. Doctrine of estoppel, section 43. Doctrine of lis pendens, section 52. Fraudulent transfer, doctrine of fraudulent transfer, section 53. Doctrine of past performance, section 53A. Along with this, there is some related sections for these things we will study in the doctrines video. Then the third block or a third unit what we are discussing is a mortgage. It is related to a mortgage. In this we will be talking about what is mortgage, what are the definitions, everything in section 58. Then we will talk about kinds of mortgage, rights and duties. There are multiple sections, so I have not added the sections here. And then we will talk about marshalling and subrogation. These are the rules for mortgages that we will discuss later. So this is the scope of mortgages. And the fourth pillar, which talks about basically on a immobile property, the different kinds of a transfer. One is sale, which is dealt in section 54, and 57. Section 57 talks about encumbrance to sale. Okay, and then lease, section 105, exchange, section 118, and then gift. In the gift, there is a section 122 which deals with movable property. Section 123 deals with immovable property. Okay, and then we have onerous gifts and universal gifts. These are the types, so we will see later. So this is the overall subject matter of Transfer of Property Act. Okay, what was our first question? What is the doubt, right? There are 3 questions which I discussed in the initial. What are the key difference between Sale of Goods Act and Transfer of Property Act? Is that Transfer of Property Act covers only a immovable property? More or less, yes. The answer is yes. The Transfer of Property Act basically deals with immovable property. But in few places, it also deals with movable property. The one such example is section 122, which talks about movable property, gifts related to movable property. So that's why in the name the Immovable Property Act is not, immovable property is not used. Clear, guys? So most of the cases it deals with immovable property, and there is a clause for movable property gift in section 122. Okay, the same way the next question what we had was is this particular act, why the word transfer of is used instead of sale of? Yes, the answer is here. This will not consider only a sale of immovable property, it also considers leasing. Any mode of a transfer. The transfer of property can happen by way of sale, by way of lease, or exchange, or gifts, right? It covers all the modes of transfers. It is not only it will not talk only about a sale. Okay, it talks about lease, exchange, and gifts. So that's why the title of the act is Transfer of Property Act. It covers immovable property at a majority stage, but in few places movable property related sections are also there. With I hope you guys are clear about what is the overall scope of Transfer of Property Act, four pillars which we will be covering in subsequent videos. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. Let's meet later to discuss basic concepts of Transfer of Property Act.